As your teacher, I must teach you strategies to become a self-regulated learner. This means that we must understand how we learn before we can become truly efficient learners. We will start with memory because it is key to storing information. This is how confusing it may seem when we are trying to remember information. Here is a strategy we may use when we are trying to remember important items. Post-its can be very helpful when trying to remember. Lesson this time. I want you to see how important it is to organize your material before you try to store it up in your brain. So I'm going to show you, we're going to play a quick game, and I'm going to show you some objects. When I turn this over, they're on the other side of this whiteboard. I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to see how many you can write down. When I tell you, you can. You're just going to look at them when I first turn it over. I will give you 15 seconds to look at them. At the end of that 15 seconds, you're going to write down as many as you possibly can. So your idea here is to figure out how do you bring in information and how could you bring it in a little bit more efficiently. All right, I'm ready for the 15-minute trial. You ready? All right, here we go. 15 seconds. Okay, stop. Write down as many as you can. Now I know some of you, this is the second time that we've done this, so you might have created some better strategies this time. So let's hear from those people who have done this one time before and see if there are any strategies you had in trying to remember the pictures. Okay, I'm going to turn it back, and I want you to see how many you got correct. How many did you get, Bruce?
4.
4. What kind of strategy did you use to try to remember the pictures?
I tried to remember all the foods first, then the articles that you'd keep in a house.
Okay, and you still only got 4?
I couldn't write fast enough.
Fast enough. Okay, well let's try it one more time. I'm going to do it this time for only 10 seconds. See, if you see what Bruce had done, he had decided to put things into categories. He decided it would be much easier to organize remembering them if he had put them into different slots rather than trying to remember the whole page. Okay, Bruce, are you ready? Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you 10 seconds on the clock. Okay, I'm going to turn it around again, and I'm going to give you another 10 seconds to write them down. Okay, stop. How many did you get the second time?
8.
8. And you had a little bit more time. You had seen the board twice. So another important thing to talk about when we're talking about memory is that you may have to do something more than once to get it to stick up in the brain. What did you do differently this time, Bruce?
Nothing real differently. Again, I just tried to make a better idea of, I concentrated on the things I hadn't remembered and then tried to get the ones I missed.
But do you think putting things in categories made it easier for you to store?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that you really, if you turn this over, there's lots of different ways you could have stored it. You could have stored things that were red. You could have stored things that were yellow, several things that were in yellow. You could, things that you'd find in a house. There's lots of different ways. It's not the name of the category that's important, it's the way you organize information as you put it up. Let's try to remember that whenever we are looking at material as we go along in this unit on memory.
Trying to remember certain types of information. Mnemonics are memory strategies that make remembering information a bit easier, transforming tedious texts into vibrant memory. They increase your ability to remember difficult or unfamiliar information. They are most useful for learning information where there is a sequence you need to learn in a particular order, such as lists, names, or numbers. Let's look at some common mnemonics. Acronyms. Acronyms are when a word or a term is created from the first letter of each item to be remembered. A well-known acronym is Roy G. Biv, which has helped many students remember the colors of the visible spectrum. That's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet.
That you use for the Great Lakes. I can say them very quickly when I use the acronym Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, Superior. I took the first letter of each one of the lakes and I turned it into an acronym that stored that chunk of information much more quickly into the brain. Another way you can do it is if you're really visual and if you're gifted artistically, you can really come up with some cool things. If there's a list of things that are difficult for you to remember, you can put in an acronym around them. Let's say you were studying the classes of vertebrates and you were having trouble remembering all of them. You could create an acronym FARM-B to make that easier. You could take the first letter of each one of the categories and put them in order. So F would stand for fish, A would stand for amphibians, R would stand for reptiles, M would stand for mammals, and B for birds because they have backbones. Something special about this picture though is that not only have we created this an acronym, which is a good storage tool, we've also put them in a picture that will help us store information in yet another place. So this is another way of remembering information. This last one is a good acronym too. I really think it's a good one because it incorporates some movement. So if you were trying to remember how our body fights off infection, you could take the first letter of each way it does. First one is white blood cells, antibodies, skin, hair, mucus, and tears. But the very best way that our bodies fight off infection is to keep our hands washed. So wash me too is another way that you can store information not only through the acronym but from the movement of washing your hands. I hope you find these helpful. I really think you will. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a better understanding of memory storage. Please check out the credits of all the people who helped make this possible.